Hello, it's Olga from SEO Sly. Welcome to SEO Podcast by SEO Sly. This is our weekly interview. Today I have a very special guest. This is Erin Sparks from Edge of the Web. Erin, welcome to SEO Sly Podcast.
Thank you, and congratulations on launching your podcast.
Thanks. It was like I didn't manage to do it as quickly as I wanted, but I'm very happy that I finally did it. And today I am like on the different side of the fence, which is quite weird for me, but I have to get used to that.
Yeah, it's a whole different dynamic there, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Like I thought it would be way easier to kind of keep the conversation going, but like usually it was like just people asking me questions, and now it is like me who has to ask the questions, and sometimes like people talk for a shorter period of time than I expected. And I have to I am getting to know how it works.
I had that experience a while back when we first interviewed Barry Schwartz, and either he was not in a good mood or he was just deliberately being brief. But literally, I would ask him a question, and he would answer within one sentence.
Yes.
No. It's like, okay, they got some crickets. Let's keep on going. So you have to have that plan B to kind of fill and be able to go further in the questioning, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I hope you will also help me share some tips with me regarding like doing interviews, doing weekly SEO recaps, like doing podcasting. I hope I will be able to pick your brains a little bit on that. So Erin,
go for it.
If there is someone who doesn't know you, can you briefly like introduce yourself, your company, and like everything?
Certainly. So I'm Erin Sparks. I'm host of Edge of the Web podcast. We're one of the top SEO podcasts. Blessed to be able to be there. We've been doing this show for 10 years. The show is actually produced by my marketing firm, which is Site Strategics, and we've been in existence 18 years. I've been in our marketing firm does all things digital marketing, but we also expanded into building podcasts about 6 years ago, kind of to accompany what we were doing on the show, but also to be able to extend that service to companies near and far as we were getting more and more experience and kind of lessons learned. We made all the mistakes that we could possibly do, including not hitting the record button. Trust me. That's been done, but
okay. Let me check.
Yeah. Okay. So my history goes back further. I've pretty much been in the industry around 30 years. I started developing websites back right during college, right out of college. So I started up my own web development company. First one's called Digital Indie, referencing Indianapolis. Actually, I go back even further because I was setting up bulletin board services. If you know what that is, if your users or your listeners know, it was literally a dial-up service connecting modem to modem to different computers where you could actually exchange files, be able to post information as pre-internet connection almost. And I had a bank of modems. I actually had 3 modems coming into my computer. So I had 3 separate lines that people could actually dial in. And I had like 6 million files on a server that they could peruse from clip art and all sorts of text. So it was almost like this wiki or this bank of information for the local Indianapolis area. But that kind of got me more and more into connectivity, and ultimately building a website development company moved me towards building my skills of not only graphic design and coding, but also marketing. So I had a number of, my career path went with a number of different marketing firms, and I was kind of the in-house coder, the in-house web developer for these firms. And I kept on bringing up the issue of search engine optimization because it wasn't anything back then. And I was in the space where I was making some recommendations on SEO. Certainly saw the writing on the walls of how to adjust things to be able to get higher and higher rank and value, and really starting to develop my methodology. And kept on talking to these business owners and said, "Hey, there's something here, and you really should offer this as a service." And for the most part, these marketing firms did not want to take on that risk. They were much more safe in the space of developing brochures and the websites that match the brochures, and no real focus on getting better visibility, because what would happen if they couldn't do it, right? So ultimately, I decided to go ahead and start my own firm after a bit of a jaunt into the .com project management space, and said, all right, let's go ahead and do this. Started in 2004, and tagged the company's name as Site Strategics, and right, decidedly so. It was website focused strategy, and our tagline was literally strategic and successful website solutions. So we tried to make sure we earned that name of making strategy first and foremost, web strategy, visibility strategy for a website, as the kind of the North Star of our organization.
Wow, that's really like a long story, and you seem to have like the perfect set of skills and knowledge. Like you have a coding background, you know something about graphics, and you have been doing SEO for like even for I believe for search engines before Google, right?
Yes.
So
so there's another factor that probably brings us to why we're talking today, is that my first major in college was philosophy. Before I jumped into computer science, I was a philosophy major, and I really took to a number of these of different philosophies, and I loved data logic, and that is tending to creep back into my perspective on what we're doing now in SEO. It's no longer, it hasn't been for the longest time, gamification. Google's getting smarter, and Google's understanding things so much more, and we're now seeing this next level of knowledge graph and organization of information that really harkens back to what I was seeing whenever I was in college. It's pretty interesting.
Wow, yeah. And can you tell me like the growth of your company? So 2004,
Sure.
what were you doing back then, and what are you doing now? I think you are probably like doing different things, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, we've had our different, I'd say, iterations of the company over the years, and we stayed kind of a web development shop and SEO shop for a good portion of half the life of the organization, and then started to expand into all the different digital marketing touch points. If we're dealing with social media management and marketing, as well as search engine marketing, it kind of goes hand in hand with SEO to a particular degree. Email, newsletter developments, and to try to expand and service our clients to the best degree of all points where that digital consumer would see their brand. Ultimately, we grew to a large size back around 2016 and 17, where we're doing a heck of a lot and started to extend ourselves into PR and more writing and conventional marketing tactics, and needed to pivot from that and kind of pull back into restructuring our SEO methodology. So we got lean and mean, and we kind of reset our goals and our strategies, and are really leading with SEO as the key element for everything we do. But more importantly, actually, it's conversions, it's lead generation, or it's goal focused strategies. The entire GOST methodology we try to deploy on a regular basis. SEOs are a very strong pillar of our services here, and we are crafting some of the best content that I've ever seen come out of this area of the country when it comes down to semantic SEO and entity-based content. So we preen through a good number of lenses to be able to understand what topic matter we really need to hit. And we have a continued strategy of kind of building content that matches the knowledge map that Google has. So our team is about 7 individuals, plus we actually have a unique relationship with another marketing firm that's inside our building. We moved in this building 6 years ago, and we met with another marketing firm before we moved in. We basically moved in together, and they do more traditional marketing, more branding and print development and PR, and they don't do the tactics that we do. So it was a really good relationship to be able to connect, and we kind of carved out some business in tandem. That was really cool, to the degree we actually won a communicators award, I think in 2020, because of it. So it was a pretty neat relationship.
Congrats. Yeah, it seems like 7 people, and you are doing, like, from what you said, everything.
Yeah. Well, all things being equal, the size of this building, we got about 20 people in this building, so our resources are much more vast, and we can develop television commercials, get on TV and radio, and do conventional press release and public relations outreach. So there's a good number of advantages to be able to have that relationship with a company like that. And that also means that we don't have to staff those particular talents, that we can be even more specialized in our strengths.
Wow, that's nice. And does Site Strategies like do SEO podcast generally, or is this like this other firm? Where is Jacob in that ecosystem?
Well, there's another firm that's the other organization. That's Matchbook Creative. Jacob is our creative studio director here. So we kind of created. I'll give you a little bit of history of the growth here over the last 6 years. Is Site Strategics moved downtown Indianapolis, and that's the Midwest in the U.S. And we started to build out a studio, and invested a good deal of time and effort and dollars into building a quality recording studio for downtown Indianapolis. It was to house our show, but also we created it in a way that can be used for any brand that wanted to come in and record, and we could change the design, change the colors of the back panels of the studio. We can do green screen type of work. We can do a lot of logo branding. So we kind of diversified our revenue stream by offering that type of service using the skills that we've learned for podcast production. So that actually developed a new brand, sub-brand called Edge Media Studios, a derivative of Edge of the Web.
Okay.
So so we've been rolling with basically 3 brands over the past few years. And if you type in, podcasting Indianapolis, you're going to see Edge of the Web all over the bloody map there. And so we've got Edge of the Web out there. We've got Edge Media out there, and we have Site Strategics as kind of the mothership, all oriented around digital marketing and media production. And it's exemplified by the podcast that we do and the curation of content that we do on this show each and every week. So it's kind of proof of concept of what you can do with media production.
Yeah, so I will have a ton of questions about your podcast. But before that, can you tell me more about the GOST methodology you mentioned?
Yeah, absolutely. So GOST, without the H, is GOST. That's goals, objectives, strategies,
goals,
and tactics.
Not ghost. I thought ghost like okay.
No. GOST is a GOST, right? But the first letter is goals. So setting a goal and having to have you can't do tactics without having it oriented towards a goal. And the goal can be, and we work with our clients on deciding what those goals are. And those goals could be revenue increase by 10% over a period of time. Goals could be so many leads coming in. Anything that is established as an agreed upon target, right? And then we have the objectives. Those are the measurable factors of those goals. So if we have we have a goal to raise 10% revenue, then we have an objective to be able to increase lead generation to X number of opportunities that then convert into so many leads for the client. So everything's built on that structure. So if we've got that level of that many objectives or objectives defined, then we can start building strategies to be able to reach those objectives. And inside of those strategies are the tactics to be able to accomplish those strategies.
Okay, and can you do you have your own special tactics strategies that you are proud of? I think you do. I think you've mentioned some of them.
Yeah, absolutely. So whenever we're focused on, let's see, local SEO, for an example, being able to create visibility for local businesses, we have a good number of tactics that help establish and create focus on a brand. So Google actually understands who they are, what they are, and what they do. And we support our clients in localized structure on their site. Obviously, schema or structured data is a key factor there. We also build a number of citations that build the value that are inbound coming into the site, or the substructure of the site. We also build and optimize towards their Google business profile. So it's a pretty easy recipe, all things being equal, for local SEO. But whenever you're going after more national key topics and concepts, then you really have to bring out the big guns. So something unique that we do that's very organically grown from kind of the history that I gave you here is whenever we onboard a new client, our first steps before even establishing the goals is we get to learn the client and understand the subject matter to a great degree. So we'll study, we'll research, we'll do everything from what an SEO would usually do to actually understand topic, but we also get our subject matter expert in this studio, okay, as much as we can. And we are prepared for, basically, it's an interview method. Just like you've been interviewed a couple times on the podcast, we lead with that type of methodology with our subject matter experts. So if it's the CEO or somebody that's inside the company that knows this particular service line, we get them in the seat here, get them on the mic, and because we have video and audio recording, we can capture everything. And we're going through a kind of an organic navigation of questions and answers. And as we find some very poignant reveals of information that we haven't seen in the marketplace, we start leaning that way in the questioning, in the interview. So we are prepared with strategic questions, and a lot of people also ask concepts, right? But what we find whenever we get through this 2.5 hour session is a gold mine of information from the subject matter experts that's oriented towards the tone of the company. It's discovering more than maybe even the company knew about that particular individual, and it actually identifies the passion of why they're in the business that they're in. All that plus deep subject matter of areas that may actually be gaps of knowledge that Google doesn't understand yet, or companies haven't explored. So we are on a mission when we do these interviews to be able to find this information with strategy, with key concepts, and then we come back around after that session and we curate it. So we'll transcribe everything, we'll organize all the different thoughts and subpoints, and that helps really augment as well as build our content strategy with the different key topics and concepts that we discovered. And what we find is that this is it's kind of an exploratory thing, but it's actually deep research that Google loves. As soon as you start unpacking knowledge that helps Google understand subject matter even more, those pages that you've written skyrocket because it understands the natural language processing. We don't adjust keywords in any of our content. It's a natural way of writing. We certainly identify semantic topics and subtopics, and we write towards that. But it demonstrates the leveraging of information that Google is hungry for and learning constantly in each and every subject. So you find those gaps, you find those opportunities, and you're really creating a subject matter expertise on behalf of the client.
Wow, that's really impressive. So what I'm hearing is that you both like take on local clients, small clients, and huge international businesses, right?
Absolutely, yeah. We're doing business with a company in Israel right now. We actually just had some business conclude with a company out of Croatia. So we're blessed to be able to actually have a good deal of relationships that came from Edge of the Web, the podcast, and the show that we do.
Okay, so let's move to the edge of the web, unless there is something you can share more about.
We always talk tools whenever we get you on the show with us, right? And there are some fantastic tools that are cutting a new swath inside of SEO. And Inlinks, who is obviously a sponsor of the show, if you ever come across the show with Dixon Jones, building a fantastic tool for schema deployment as well as crosslinks. It's a fantastic entity SEO analysis tool, but there's a lot out there, especially also asked.com. These platforms are in new spaces of SEO, and keywords and keyword ranking is going to the wayside. It's really developing entities and trustable nodes of information in a website, and it's I think these platforms are, including Calicube from Jason Bernard, these platforms are invaluable for kind of the new evolution of entity SEO. All right, there's the gratuitous commercial for these guys.
I have recently interviewed Jason Barnard, and he also shared a ton of things around that, and my head I think exploded. So
he's a wealth of knowledge, and I pulled him aside a couple of times to just be able to help me orient correctly, get my compass right for entity SEO and the structured data that is necessary to be able to bring a brand or a subject matter into focus. But this is the new space, the new area, and Google's responding quite clearly with knowledge graph and knowledge panels, and let alone just the SERP constantly changing in response to what it understands about a subject. I mean, we're getting more response in that than we've ever seen before in just rankings, and it gives us guidance to what it's really hungry for. So if you're observing the SERP and observing your subject matter out there, you can certainly take advantage of that and leverage key known areas of development that are going to win the day. It's just building that trust, that subject matter knowledge, and ultimately you've got to build the expertise, authority, and trust. Everything from an inbound standpoint as well. But mapping everything from a semantic SEO space is where we are. All right, now we can go into Edge.
So tell me about the Edge. So it is 10 years old, right?
Yeah.
And how many episodes have you created during that time?
Officially 546. But we actually have more than that in the can. It's just that's our count on Apple. So we've got we've crossed our 500 mark in April. And you were actually a contributor on the show. We actually used the analogy of an error 500 to kind of encapsulate. If you're familiar with it, it's a bad error. It's a server fail. It's a website that's not doing what it's supposed to do. Anyway, reach out to a lot of guests and ask them to share with us your epic fail. And we got a lot of great submissions and had a fantastic episode. And we're very proud of obviously being able to get 500 episodes, but it really was great to be able to reach out to the community, and everybody was eager to help. So we're plodding away. It took us 5 years to get to 100,000 episode downloads. And as soon as we pivoted to a different format, we were able to pull 100,000 downloads in 1 year. And
different format? What do you
different
mean?
format, exactly. So I'll give you some history of the Edge. Is that
Sure.
I started this show as a paid advertisement on local Indianapolis radio. Okay, so we bought an hour time slot on a radio station, and we would go out there at 7 a.m. on a Saturday to record. And I had an entire series of key points I was going to go over. I had like 10 or 12 steps that I was going to do the first 12 recordings. But the studios at the time there really didn't know why we were asking for the MP3 file. They had no idea of podcasting at the time. So we were running our video recording even back then. And if you go back to the first episodes, and I'm sorry because they're not nearly as polished as we are now.
I have to check that.
It's hilarious. We actually did a 10-year anniversary reel. The team did, going back to a lot of different touch points. It was neat to be able to see that. But so we recorded, and we immediately started to post this online and develop our podcast. It really came naturally because we knew that was the production. It wasn't really the Indianapolis audience that we were trying to reach. We were just needing the production facilities to be able to start getting that out there. So our format was basically covering news and topics and talking amongst ourselves. Okay, so it was a local threesome of individuals, marketers that are in Indianapolis with no particular clout except for maybe one. And we're talking about our take on information, right? Well, that really didn't interest people online. But as soon as we pivoted and started to talk to and reach out to individuals that were thought leaders in the SEO community, we started to attend a couple conferences like SMX, where we started to create relationships, and we started to light up on those individuals that were sharing some fantastic knowledge. All of a sudden, our ticker starts to go up a little bit. And that's what we capitalized on. Is 5 years into it, we pivoted and started to really dive into influencer and thought leader guest interviews. And that got us into a space where we're getting between about 15 to 20,000 downloads a month. And we have some great relationships with fantastic thought leaders around the world. And you got to understand, this show was not built just to try to market ourselves. There's a secondary ulterior motive here. This show is primarily focused to educate my team and myself. Because as soon as we get on the mic and we're disciplined to have these questions, just like you're going through, right? You got to know your stuff. You got to know what to ask, and then what to ask after they answer that next question.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
So just by discipline alone, we have plugged ourselves into what's happening in the community, what's happening right now with certain changes in algorithm updates, as well as different debates that are going on. So we forced ourselves into an education process, and that has been kind of a fount of information for our team. So any of our team members here could absolutely get on the mic and say that what they've learned during their stint here with Site Strategics is more than they've ever known in the SEO space, and we're constantly learning. So that's really kind of the secret thing about Edge, is that as much as we like to talk and be able to share thoughts with listeners, we're really kind of in it to educate ourselves and keep our own powder dry.
Okay, and per week, how many episodes do you publish? I think around 2, right? Am I correct? SEO news and an interview, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Every once in a while, we'll do a flash episode when there's news breaking, something that we want to have a dialogue with. We'll reach out to some friends of the show and say, "Hey, can you spend 15 minutes with us?" And then we'll light up the cameras, either go live. We were doing live shows for 5 years. About 5 years. We were actually going Facebook and YouTube live, and that's a whole nother pressure right there. Actually, hitting the dial at noon with your guests that may be running late, and they may actually have technical issues, and let alone any technical issues in the studio. That was a little bit too much pressure that we were putting on ourselves.
Wow.
But we do 2 shows plus a flash, and every quarter we try to do what we call a scrum. And we are an agile shop, meaning that we're an iterative marketing shop, and we try to pull together a number of individuals to talk about an issue. So we had a scrum this past year with Barry Adams and Jonah Alderson when we talked about Google AMP, right? Because it's been a hot topic of why in the world are we using AMP anymore, especially when they've taken away the requirement to hit the carousel on news. So there was a heated debate, and certainly Barry Adams can't stand AMP. And it was jovial, but it was also quite the witty banter back and forth. Anyway, so we try to mix it up a little bit and having different types of shows for different audiences.
Okay, and so how do you optimize? Do you optimize for SEO your show? You probably do. What do you do? Descriptions, titles? Tell me all about it.
Oh yeah, from a titling and meta content, yeah, we certainly cook that in. We also do timestamps. So we'll post our show notes on our site, and we'll also timestamp all the relevant points of information that we've carried on. We also segment our podcast with ID3 tags, so we're actually putting different chapters into our podcast, which you can actually navigate from the car radio. You can actually go segment by segment by segment. We also take those same timestamps and publish into YouTube, so you can actually fast forward to different sections of the YouTube file. We have also in the past transcribed everything and pushed that into a secondary page, as well as writing a blog or two around each and every show. So for taking on a particular concept, then we'll actually work a blog in, and utilizing our SEO tools have semantic relevancy kind of cooked into these pages. What else do we do? We also move social media against every show, so we're putting some awareness of each and every show. We're doing cross-linking between pages that are referencing certain topic matter. We're also obviously, if you go to the show, you'll see our structured data there. We've got podcast episode displayed behind the scenes there, where we're writing unique structured data for each and every show as well.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's a number of things that are kind of cranking out of each show. We also are developing entity kind of vocabulary inside the show itself. So we are moving structured data into the site on a regular basis, and defining entities more and more, and linking back to entities from all these different shows.
Oh, and do your posts with podcast notes, do they rank? Do they bring a lot of organic traffic?
They do. For the interviews with different individuals, they do actually, and that's part of the play here is interviews with Olga Zarr, right? You're going to see Edge right there. We're also ranking on a good number of the key topics regarding, like Domain Authority 2.0. We were ranking right next to Moz. We rank in the space of John Mueller. In fact, if you Google your name right now, Olga, you're going to see Edge of the Web in our vocabulary page on the top 10. I think you may see it there. This may be a unique positioning, but we're going to be in the top 20. So we've been building your entity as well on our site. And
I see a knowledge panel.
yeah.
Oh, I haven't seen that. It's like a new thing.
Oh yeah, you've got a knowledge panel, and look at that.
Wow, it's super new.
And guess what? Look at the oh wow, we're actually positioned as the link in the knowledge panel.
Like,
so
wow,
there's some.
I haven't seen that.
There's some knowledge graph optimization for you right there.
Wow, I checked that like, I don't know, 2 days ago, and it wasn't there. Maybe I should share.
Well, check out the link though. Check out what we did for the link. So if you go over to the link in your knowledge panel there. Yeah.
Let me share my screen, because I think it's going to be interesting. 1 second. Okay, so
if you hit that link on your knowledge panel, now see what we're doing. And forgive the graphic design because that the template's not working well with that featured image.
Wow. Okay.
But if you see the jump text right there, right? And if you scroll down, you'll see some hyperlinks that are also entity oriented. So they're not just, and you also have the timeline of every one of the shows that you've been on.
So you generated the knowledge panel for me, basically.
Well, we gave it a nice push, and then you can take it over with your about pages.
People also search for Elena Solis. It's nice to be. Okay, but I haven't claimed this knowledge panel yet.
Go get it, because we're doing it for you. We're not trying to monopolize anything, but to the point of optimization, see what we can do with what we're doing.
Yeah, I am really impressed.
Thank you.
Yeah. So if you want to get a knowledge panel, you should
go on Edge of the Web.
Yeah. It looks like it.
So I mean, that's with a lot of hard work over the years, and a good deal of understanding of the structured data elements to everything. So didn't mean to surprise you there, but we gave it a nice push, and that's that tipping point that Jason actually talks about, is when Google knows enough, right? All of a sudden the knowledge graph starts pulling up and it actually understands more and more. So you were already at a kind of a tipping point anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
But I haven't done my homework totally when it comes to educating Google about who I actually am. I think Google didn't really understand what I wrote in the first paragraphs of my about page.
Well, I mean, it's all there, and you've got so much data behind you, and on top of that, images are a huge factor of entity SEO now. So we're also optimizing images as we push out content and images. We just had a podcast with Crystal Carter, and really dove into visual search. And there's so much information that is conveyed in an image. And I got to tell you, Jason Bernard is doing it fantastically. If you look at some of his thumbnails inside of IMDb, right? Yeah, he's got the full face of that individual. We got a very clear tag of the name, so Google can actually read that information very well. He's experimenting all the time, so
yeah.
I'll give him some credence here because we're kind of following in his footsteps.
Yeah, and yes, and as I said, I was talking to him a while ago, a few days ago, and he shared so many things, and I feel that there is still so much to be done by me, and yeah, I need to have, I think, a private session with him when he will teach me the overall.
He's awesome, but the thing is that it demonstrates the next level of what Google's looking for. Right.
Yeah.
Looking for that points of authority, points of information, and it as soon as it starts trusting the data to a particular degree, right? Then all these pieces start falling into place here.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting place to be because it's no longer, never should have been. It's no longer content and just a glut of content. It's got to be the right content. It's got to map to what Google understands about subject matter, and on top of that, you have to go into different lanes or the omni-channel where we're inside of video content and audio content and image content as well as the written content. You can never dismiss inbound relevance, obviously, but you have to, as a marketer or as a individual, you have to start really moving content in those different lanes to be able to help educate Google.
Yeah, just like Jason says that Google is this child that we should be educating and showing him or her the way.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So let me ask you this: can you name the top mistakes when it comes to podcasts? The one you made. I think last time I was sharing my SEO audit mistakes.
Oh yeah.
Now it's time for you to share yours.
Top mistakes. Well, I already gave the first one of not hitting record.
Yeah.
We actually had the mayor's office of Indianapolis in our show, and all the while we thought we were recording the interview, and we literally had to ask them to come back and re-record it. We also a bit of podcast, but also live casting. We had a scenario, and it's incredibly embarrassing, where we were doing a live cast for an education organization, a national education organization, and there were going to be CEOs, top level C-level individuals that are making this great announcement, and it's going to be on Facebook, and we were going to have 6 to 8 individuals, kind of like in that Brady Bunch panel, right? We never practiced with any of these individuals, and some of these individuals were coming in from an internet connection at their hotel. In fact, the CEO decided not to get on her plane to go back and see her children. She jumped into a hotel to be able to broadcast with us, and the internet connectivity was terrible. We hadn't trained everybody on how to use our particular platform and this is way before COVID, obviously. And all of our knowledge has increased tenfold of how to broadcast, but we had educators that had never used this before, and there was so much confusion. We went live and we couldn't get these individuals in place or on the show, and we were running about 10 minutes live, and the project point said, cut it, we're done, we can't do this. And it fell apart like a house of cards. It was terrible.
Yeah.
Now,
I can imagine.
That's live. Other podcast mistakes. Trying to replace an audio file on a scheduled podcast to go out, and trying to replace the file and not being able to, with the platform we were using, not be able to have it refer to the correct file in time. So it launched, the RSS launching with the original file, which was completely broken. Nobody could find it. And all the podcasts just picked it up and said, hey, you can't play this right now. And that was, we were delivering that, and about an hour and 45 minutes passed until the RSS updated and got the correct file. But that was an hour and 45 minutes where I had a few people shouting at us.
What are you doing?
Yeah, exactly. What else? What can I think from a podcast mistake
generally,
standpoint?
YouTube,
YouTube. Well, I mean, a lot of the things derive from going live and putting that additional pressure on us. But podcasting also was a bit from the entity standpoint. We were trying to figure out how in the world to get our identity card in the carousel, and we were breaking apart everybody else's RSS feed to try to figure out what we were doing wrong, because you had Dan Scher's podcast out there, you had Search Engine Journal's podcast out there. For the life of us, we could not trip that card up. And I even to the degree threw in SEO Podcast on the graphic just to see if we could persuade Google to grab a hold of us. So I think it was a combined effort of things. We finally got enough focus on the show to be able to not only connect the dots, get our artwork there, but also develop our knowledge panel. And we're one of the few SEO podcast shows that actually have our own knowledge panel out there, our knowledge graph. But there was a lot of mistakes. I mean, we were looking at that for 8 to 10 months, scratching our head. What's different? What are we not doing that these guys are doing? So I guess you have to put your shoulder into the grindstone sometimes and just keep going at it until something pops. At the same time, Google's always changing what it's looking at, right? So it's fluid, and any given day it may actually look at something differently, and okay, you're in place. And you want to have a small little party, but you really don't know what you did, what all the variables were that triggered that release.
But exactly.
That's SEO for you, right?
Yeah. So do your podcast episodes correspond to what you have on YouTube, like 1-to-1, or do you put different stuff there?
No, usually we're actually pushing out YouTube. That's a derivative of our show. So we'll cut it up a little bit differently, or go long form. We'll put both interviews together, but it is the full-on interview. We are going to be changing our format on the YouTube channel to kind of match the YouTube audience. We're going to be doing quick bites, 3-minute aha moments. Yeah, shorts. Well, not a minute, so to speak, but 3 minutes or so. That is enough for anybody to pause and grab a hold of something. So we're going to be doing that with your top 20 SEO mistakes. We're going to grab a couple of these different pieces and put enough animation and entertainment together, but have them pop. So we are going to be changing the output, so to speak, because all things being equal, we don't really have that strong of a YouTube channel, and we got to give listeners there what they're, or I should say viewers. See, I'm still oriented towards listeners. We got to give our viewers in that space what they would actually enjoy more.
Yeah. Okay. I see. So now it's time for you to plug. What do you want to plug? What do you want my audience to do? Subscribe to your podcast. Tell me.
Yeah. Go check out the podcast. We love reviews of the podcast. That's how we increase our ranking in iTunes, and that's where the algorithm actually really takes hold. We'd love to know more about who our audience would like us to interview. So we have a survey on the site, a bit of a survey of who you are, what you're interested in, and who you'd like us to interview. So please fill that out. Let us know how we're doing and how we can improve the show as well. We're trying out a lot of different tactics, and we're very proud to be able to also produce a number of podcasts, one of which was Serps Up from Wix. So Wix came to us and say, hey, can we produce this for you guys? So we spent a lot of time building all the sound elements, all the audio imagery, and we're behind the scenes with all the different sound effects and background imagery and all the editing. So we're proud to be able to push that one out. So if anybody's interested in our podcast services, we actually offer that, and we can kind of just explore how you can reach a whole nother audience there.
So maybe you will help me. Maybe I can I reach out to you?
We are always here for you. Absolutely.
That's great. Okay, so tell me, how do you stay up to date with what's going on in SEO? Do you have a feed, or how do you do that?
Yeah, I've got feeds in a spreadsheet from every one of the different platforms, and I also have a Feedly tool trained on some keywords that I'm looking for there. And ultimately, we always go to Barry Schwartz because that's him, right? Honestly, I probably would not have this show if it wasn't for Barry Schwartz. I hate to say it. I mean, he has been such a goldmine of information coming out of, he's been writing 30,000 articles. It's amazing. But we also try to watch the dialogue that's happening inside social media. We just came across just yesterday, about 18 hours ago, actually, a dialogue that Brody Clark and Marie Haynes were talking about, that there's some new information updated in Google's guidelines regarding spammy structured data. And that just got updated, and you can actually get a manual penalty if structured data is perceived to be spam or manipulated. So that's a big piece of news that we're going to be covering on the show here very soon. And I jumped into the dialogue myself, just asking, hey, if it's incorrectly formatted, or structured data that could very well be just built out without manipulation, but it's not formatted correctly, could that actually trigger a penalty? And an individual jumped in there and said, you know what? Every one of the manual actions that I've been doing recently had to do with inadvertent, incorrect structured data. So Google's really looking at structured data incredibly so right now, and it seems that there's a new dialogue when it comes down to that. So everybody who's listening, get your structured data correct as quickly as you can.
No, I was thinking that maybe you can get a manual penalty for structured data if you have been stuffing your keywords or your article there, but like having it incorrectly. So this is
now again, that is observational. That's nothing coming from Google, right? But I sincerely doubt that they'd flag anybody for invalid structure. But yeah, if you're putting in if you're putting in tags of business types, and you're doing multiple business types in structured data, do not do that, because it's spam, and Google's gonna lay waste to you real quick.
Simply.
Yeah, it's kind of scary, but at the same time, I think everything goes with a bit of, take it with a bit of salt. There is that you have to have good content, and you have to have compliant structured data. That's the way of the world here.
Okay. So can you tell me how does your day look like? How many hours do you work? Like, is it like, are you like very oriented for like keeping to-do lists? How do you work? Because
I work a 30-hour workday.
Okay.
Gosh. I've got 4 kids. 2 are in college, and I got a high schooler and a middle schooler. So my high schooler actually is on the swim team, and I have to drop him off at 5:00 in the morning every morning. So I'm getting into work about 5:30. So I've got a few hours to do work before the team gets here. We go pretty vigorous in our schedulings, maybe sometimes to our detriment. But if you look at my calendar, there's 30-minute slots for a number of different things, just trying to make sure I got the ball rolling on all these different pieces. So I'm out about 5:00, 5:30 every day, putting in about 10 to maybe 12 hours for the entire day, because I'll pick it up after the kids are in bed for a couple more hours. Unfortunately, hopefully that's going to change over time as we're growing as an organization, and we've got a number of new openings coming in the future at this organization. So hopefully that will take the load off of me.
How about weekends? Do you work over weekends?
Yeah, unfortunately. If you're an owner of the company, right, it's a foregone conclusion that you're going to do something on the company over the weekend. In fact, I was working on structured data on our site while I was watching a robotic Lego competition.
Okay. Yeah, I think I can relate to that.
Yep.
Okay, so summing up, I think I think I know what the answer may be, but what do you think is the most underrated area of SEO, and why should we be paying more attention to that? Is it like structured data, or can you like think about something else?
Yeah, I think what's underrated is the relationship of content on the site, and more importantly, what the website presents as knowledgeable information to the user, and more importantly to Google. Google's having a neural map. It's understanding a topic more and more, and if your content's not aligned to the best degree of helpful content that's related to subtopics and subject matter, then Google's going to gloss over you for somebody that's more specialized in that. Taking advantage of video, structured data, making sure that you're presenting structured data in a way that is helpful to Google to understand information. I think that is a place that is dearly needed to be focused on from so many websites.
Okay, and for people who are just starting out in SEO, what would your piece of advice be?
Listen and learn. There's so many people that are inside the SEO community that want to share information. Alita has a fantastic newsletter that's coming out every Monday. There's some great newsletters out, and there's a lot of care that's being put into helping people understand this space. So participate and engage in social, but really scoop up as much as you possibly can. Marie Haynes has a great newsletter as well. They're all doing some fantastic work out there, and the ball is ever changing. So we're also we as a community of, I guess, influencers are trying to let people know when something moves, right? And there's always something that's fluid in the marketplace there.
Yeah, exactly. And who do you want to give a shout out to? Who should we be following, and who aren't we following, may not be following?
You know what? I'll give a shout out to Andrew Optimizy. He's a hell of a guy, and he is also huge champion for women in tech, and wanting to really showcase some fantastic women that need a better stage to be able to see their incredible work. So he's a continued advocate for women in tech. So give him a shout out because he's a fantastic fellow.
Okay, shout out has been given. Okay, so where can people find you if they want to follow up? Tell me what's the best place to reach out to you.
Just type in SEO Podcast. You're going to be able to see Edge of the Web. You can get there. You can find me at erinsparks.com. All business is originated from Site Strategics. That's SITE, strategics.com. And anywhere that you see somebody bugging and pestering Morty Oberstein, that's going to be me. So watch that wake. You'll see me flicking his ear.
Yeah, and I think there is Morty ringtone, right? We can download.
What's that again?
Morty ringtone.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh, that's right. Yeah, so if you check out the YouTube channel, but we actually made a video, like a commercial regarding. You can download Morty's ringtone. We captured a beautiful sound effect that he usually does, and it's just some ungodly audio. And we made a website for him. So for the entire SEO community, you can download that MP3, and anytime that Morty calls, you can have that ringtone for your very own.
Yeah, I will definitely link it somewhere in the notes. So.
That's awesome.
Okay, Erin, so thank you very much for taking time and sharing your knowledge with me and with the audience. It was
You're more than welcome. And let me know if I can ever help. It's always great to be able to see more and more people in sharing information. Olga, you've been doing a great job letting people know everything about the SEO tools and techniques. So keep up the good work, please.
I will. Thank you. So thanks everyone, and we'll see you in the next episode of SEO Weekly Interviews. So bye-bye.
Bye-bye.